Every day, millions of people wake up smiling on the outside while silently fighting a war inside their own minds. They go to work, attend school, laugh with friends, and answer the simple question, "How are you?" with "I'm fine." But behind that single sentence lies a storm no one can see. Mental illness doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like a student who suddenly loses motivation. Sometimes it's a parent who can't get out of bed. Sometimes it's the friend who slowly stops replying to your messages. The human mind can become both our greatest strength and our deepest prison. Psychopathology is the scientific study of mental disorders, how they develop, why they happen, and how they shape the way we think, feel, and behave. It reminds us of one powerful truth. People are often fighting battles we cannot see. Imagine your brain as a beautifully designed orchestra. Every instrument has its role. Emotions, memories, attention, logic, and motivation all perform together in harmony. But when one section falls out of rhythm, the entire symphony begins to sound different. That is often what a mental disorder feels like. Not a broken person, but a mind struggling to stay in balance. Depression is one of the most misunderstood disorders. People often confuse it with sadness, but sadness eventually fades. Depression steals color from life itself. Activities that once brought joy become empty. Getting out of bed feels like climbing a mountain. Even simple decisions become mentally exhausting. The world doesn't necessarily become darker, it simply stops feeling alive. Anxiety disorders create a different kind of prison. Your brain constantly predicts danger, even when you're completely safe. Every heartbeat feels suspicious. Every silence feels threatening. Every mistake feels catastrophic. It's like living with a smoke alarm that never stops ringing, even when there is no fire. Then there is Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, or OCD. Many people think it's simply about being neat or organized. In reality, OCD is driven by relentless intrusive thoughts that create overwhelming fear. To reduce that fear, people perform repetitive behaviors or mental rituals. They usually know these rituals don't make logical sense, but anxiety overpowers logic. It is not a personality trait. It is emotional captivity. Post-traumatic stress disorder develops after deeply distressing experiences. Trauma doesn't always stay in the past. Sometimes it follows people into the present through nightmares, flashbacks, emotional numbness, or constant hypervigilance. The body remembers what the mind desperately tries to forget. Some disorders completely reshape perception itself. Schizophrenia can affect the ability to distinguish reality from hallucinations or delusions. Thoughts become confusing. Voices may seem completely real. The experience can feel terrifying, isolating, and deeply misunderstood by society. Bipolar disorder is often reduced to mood swings, but the reality is far more complex. During manic episodes, a person may feel unstoppable, needing little sleep while making impulsive decisions with overwhelming confidence. During depressive episodes, that same person may struggle to find hope. These emotional extremes can profoundly affect relationships, careers, and identity. Personality disorders affect long-term patterns of thinking, emotional regulation, and relationships. These patterns often develop over many years and usually originate from a complicated interaction between biology, early experiences, and environment. They are not simply bad personalities. They are deeply rooted psychological adaptations. But here's something most people never realize. Mental disorders rarely have a single cause. Modern psychology follows what's known as the Biopsychosocial Model. This means mental illness often emerges through the interaction of biology, psychology, and life experiences. Genetics may increase vulnerability. Childhood experiences may shape emotional development. Chronic stress, trauma, social isolation, or major life changes can all become powerful triggers. Mental illness is rarely a matter of weakness. It is usually the result of multiple forces converging over time. Society often teaches people to hide emotional pain. We admire productivity more than healing. We praise people for staying strong while quietly ignoring those who are falling apart. Because of stigma, many suffer in silence for years before asking for help, and sometimes they never ask at all. But healing begins the moment shame ends. Recovery doesn't always mean means symptoms disappear forever. Sometimes healing means learning healthier ways to manage them. Sometimes it means finding the courage to attend therapy, taking prescribed medication, building supportive relationships, practicing self-compassion, and allowing yourself to be imperfect. Progress is rarely linear, but every small step matters. If someone around you suddenly changes, becomes distant, unusually angry, emotionally numb, or constantly exhausted, don't rush to judge them. Curiosity is more powerful than criticism. Compassion heals more deeply than assumptions ever can. And if you are the one silently struggling, remember this: your diagnosis does not define your identity. Your symptoms are not your personality. Your pain is not your future. The mind is incredibly fragile, but it is also remarkably resilient. With understanding, support, and proper treatment, countless people rebuild fulfilling lives after even the darkest chapters. The greatest act of humanity isn't pretending to be strong. It's creating a world where people feel safe enough to admit they are hurting. Because sometimes the words "I'm not okay" are not signs of weakness. They are the first words of healing. And perhaps the most powerful thing we can ever say to another human being is this: I believe you. I'm here. You don't have to fight this battle alone.